Hey, how's it going everyone? My name is Andrew and welcome back to Andrew's Aviation. Today I've just arrived in Hong Kong International Airport on Cathay Pacific after a 16-hour journey from Chicago. For this video, we'll be continuing our journey to Singapore with Scoot, Singapore Airlines' low-cost carrier subsidiary. I've heard Scoot is like the Singaporean version of Spirit Airlines. They're both yellow, cheap, compact, fly A320neos, have basic fares, and have a ton of people complaining about them on the internet. I wanted to see just how good or bad these guys were for myself, which is why I chose them to take me to Singapore. Well, that, and they were the only ones flying to Singapore after 10 p.m. on that day. Trust me, I would have loved to take a carrier like Singapore Airlines, but my wallet wouldn't allow it, let alone my time constraint. Either way, it's the perfect opportunity to check out Scoot, even if it is a red-eye flight and I've literally been awake for over 18 hours at this point with no caffeine. But there's plenty of other things to do in the Hong Kong airport besides looking for coffee, such as the Lego store on the 200 gates that would make any kid jump for joy. I know I'm an adult, but if the box says ages 4 to 99, that's all I need. Anyways, that silly stuff aside, Hong Kong actually has a really nice airport. There were holiday decorations everywhere and it was a pleasant walk to gate 204 where our brand new A320neo was being serviced. This aircraft, nicknamed Go-Go to Mango, is just 1 year old at the time of the flight and was delivered back in December 2018. A short wait and a couple sugary snacks later, boarding finally started. But Scoot's way of boarding is a little interesting. For many flights on Scoot, you can check in online up to 72 hours before departure, and the time you check in will determine your boarding zone and seat on the plane randomly. But for other routes like to and from Hong Kong, you can't check in early or get your seat until you get to the airport. Now if you want to avoid all that, you can pre-select your seats like I did. That way you can plan everything out and know when you're going to board relative to where you are in the plane. I picked seat 5A, which means that I secured Zone 1 boarding and a nice view of the engine. So now that we're sitting down and waiting to go, let's take a closer look at our seat. The first thing you'll notice is all the magazines and pamphlets that are literally in your face. And as some of you who know psychology may recognize, it's that way by design. But this is the place where you'll find some things that you actually need, like the safety information card and food options. One thing that is surprising about this seat though is that there's no seat back pocket. Really, there isn't anywhere on the back of the A320neo seats that you can store your stuff, except for the tray table or stuffed inside your carry-on bags. Legroom on Scoot's A320neo isn't that outstanding either. The seat dimensions measure 18 inches of width and only 28 inches of pitch, and it doesn't get much better when you have a giant backpack and a jacket with you either. Although, granted, that was my own doing here. There is room for your stuff up in the overhead bins, and the space given to you is typical for your standard airline that flies A320s, but it's a little challenging to make use of that extra space when there's stuff you need to keep with you in your bag and there's no extra pocket to store it. It is worth noting that small carry-on bags are free of charge on Scoot regardless of fare. Checked baggage, on the other hand, will cost extra depending on if it's included in your ticket or not. By now, if you're thinking, hey, this seat sounds really similar to Spirit Airlines, then you're absolutely right. Spirit's new A320neo seats are really similar to Scoot's in specs and design, as you guys can see here. Their seats are even made out of the same leather materials as Spirit's, and neither have a movable headrest. I guess that this seat is the definition of you get what you pay for, and considering the cheap prices of Scoot, I'd say it all kinda evens out. It seems like on airlines you can only make either your body or your wallet happy, but not both. But anyways, that's the end of my seat tour, so let's head for Singapore. So now we've got about 4 hours until we land in Singapore, and I need something to keep me awake, so let's see what kind of grub Scoot has to offer. Scoot doesn't serve any free snacks or beverages on these shorter flights, and all the choices are between different snack and meal combinations for purchase. Some of these meal combos are actually a little bit cheaper if you purchase them online when you book your ticket, which is what I did. It works the same way as the process for pre-selecting your seat. Shortly after reaching cruise, the crew came around to see my boarding pass and then handed me my pre-ordered meal of miso chicken with pearl rice and a crab leg. This also came with a water bottle and a mini tin of assorted dark and milk chocolates, which is a very nice touch. As you guys can probably tell, this isn't the best quality meal. I'll assure you guys that it tastes better than it looks, and with a price tag of only $10, I can't really complain. I mean, I still enjoyed the food I ate, and it definitely helped keep me awake so I wouldn't fall asleep while filming. Like you guys may have seen from the seat tour, Scoot doesn't provide any seatback entertainment on the A320neo. They do have something called Scoot TV, where you can pay to rent movies on your computer, but it's only available on 787 aircraft. So if you're on any of the Scoot's A320 family aircraft, it's best to bring your own activities on board. I'm not really about paying extra for entertainment anyways, especially when I've brought my own and I have some seatmates with great senses of humor. When my seatmates got up, I had the chance to check out the restrooms in the front of the aircraft, but nothing too special. So after all that, there's not much else to show on this flight except for the pitch black coastal and ocean views outside, so it's time to sit back and enjoy the couple of hours I still have left with a few more rounds of cards. Eventually, the lights of metropolitan Singapore came into view as we approached Singapore at probably what is now 2 in the morning. So Scoot's value is very disputable, and you'll find different opinions all over the internet. So I'm going to break it down to a few simple categories. The service on this flight was very general, and the flight crew were friendly like usual, and as a passenger, I didn't directly feel their frustration of being on a super late flight. The food on board Scoot, I would say, is one of the worst meals I've had on a flight, but I mean that in terms of a worst of the best kind of deal. I got an entire hot meal for $10, and it achieved its goal of helping me stay awake to play card games, so like I said before, no complaints from me. Entertainment provided on this flight is very close to nothing. The only thing you have to do if you forgot your own stuff on the A320 is to read the in-flight magazines full of travel and shopping ads. So case in point, bring your phone fully charged or you're screwed, because there's no power outlets either. The seat on the A320neo isn't that desirable either. It's much better than some of the horrors I've seen on Frontier, but not having a seat pocket can be a little annoying. I'm just glad that the seat at least had a decent sized tray table and the ability to recline. In terms of little extra costs that seem to pop up out of nowhere on budget carriers, Scoot does a pretty good job of letting you know what you'll need to pay for, and I didn't find many hidden costs for this flight with the exception of reserving my seat and meal. If all you were traveling with was something like 2 pieces of carry-on bags and yourself, you could easily get by with just booking the basic fare. Overall, Scoot is one of the better budget airlines I've flown on. When I look at judging a budget airline, it's hard to compare it to a full-service carrier like Delta or Cathay Pacific, because it's probably obvious who would win in terms of quality, so I go by a value-to-price ratio. Scoot has a decent value of what you get for what you pay for. It's very comparable to Norwegian Airlines actually. Scoot has transitioned a little bit away from a full budget airline and more towards a full service carrier, but it's still considered a budget airline, and in my opinion, it's a good midpoint and way better than Spirit. Personally, I had a great time on this flight, and I won't lie that my card game influenced that. But honestly, I was just happy that I made it through the flight in one piece because I've been awake traveling for the past 24 hours without any sleep, and the only thing I want is to get into my hotel and hibernate for the next 2 days. So that's my view on Scoot. Have you guys ever flown Scoot? Any stories, experiences, or upcoming flights you'd like to share? Let me know down in the comments below. Well, that's it for me this week. I'm off to go try to make it through customs without collapsing on the floor from exhaustion or lack of sleep. Oh wait, I'm a university student, so I already deal with that every day. If you liked the video, pound that like button and subscribe to Andrews Aviation for some more dank videos. And, as always, have a wonderful day everyone.